In this lecture, we're going to take a look at a method for finding the roots of polynomials. And we're still going to be using Newton's method. 98% of the time, Newton's method is going to be our go-to for solving equations. But if you watch the secant method lecture, one of the problems that we run into is while we talk about Newton's method converging quadratically, what that really means is that the sequence of values generated by the method converges quadratically. And it kind of politely ignores the cost of generating the elements of that sequence. And when we're talking about polynomials, the brute force method for evaluating them, where you just substitute the number in, evaluate the exponents, multiplications, additions, and so on, is pretty costly. It's relatively inefficient, and we can do better, right? And that's what we're going to take a look at in this lecture here. So first, I want to convince you that the brute force method it is not a good choice, right? And I'm going to do that just by counting the number of multiplications, additions, and so on, and we'll see how many that comes out to. So I have an nth degree polynomial here, and looking first at the exponents. X to the n takes n minus 1 multiplications to evaluate. X to the n minus 1 takes n minus 2 multiplications, so on all the way down to that x squared term, which only takes 1 multiplication. So the total cost of evaluating all of these exponents is the sum of the integers from 1 all the way up to n minus 1. Okay, so that's the exponents. How about the coefficients, right? The multiplications. Well, there's a total of n multiplications. You can see it in the polynomial there, right? We have to multiply a sub n by x to the n, a sub n minus 1 by x to the n minus 1, so on down to that a sub 1 x term. And then there's the additions, right? The final step, adding everything together, and that is another n minus 1 arithmetic operations. So what does this come out to? Well, there's a formula for that sum, right? That sum is n times n minus 1 divided by 2. And if you do the algebra here and simplify this whole thing, it comes out to this, n squared plus 3n minus 2 all over 2. You kind of the language of algorithm design. This is big O of n squared. So in other words, it runs in quadratic time, which is not good. It's not horrid. It's okay if your polynomials are relatively small, but if they start to get large, or you're doing something in real time where you're doing a lot of these, it's really not all that good. And fortunately, we can do better. So first, I've outlined what we want to do here. Right? We have a polynomial, and we want to approximate its root using Newton's method, starting with p sub 0 as the initial approximation. Yeah. Now, to start off our method, I'm going to use something here called the polynomial division algorithm. Polynomial division algorithm says if I have a polynomial p of x, and I have a factor x minus p sub 0, then I can rewrite p of x as x minus p sub 0 times some other polynomial q of x, which is smaller than p. When we talk about smaller in this context with polynomials, we mean its degree is smaller, plus a remainder term. Right? And that remainder term has to be smaller degree than the factor x minus p0. Since that's linear, the only thing smaller than a linear term is a constant term, which is why I've just written this as a regular variable here. Now, remember our goal. Our goal was to figure out what is p of p sub 0. So let's evaluate this. Right, I'm going to put p sub 0 in here. And you see that first term there, p0 minus p0, that term is 0. That whole part goes away. And p of p0 is just equal to that remainder term, right? This is what's known in mathematics as the remainder algorithm. So what I've done here, as we've done several other times throughout this chapter, I've rephrased the question, right? Instead of saying, can I brute force evaluate this polynomial, I've changed the question to, can I efficiently determine what that remainder is? And it turns out, you'll see in the next couple of slides, the answer to that is yes, we can. Now, before we move on, remember that to use Newton's algorithm, to use Newton's method, I also need to know the value of the derivative of p, right? P prime of p0. Okay, so how can we get to there? Well, go back up to the first line, that p of x equals line, and let's differentiate that. Right, if we use the product rule, p prime of x equals x minus p sub 0 times q prime of x plus q of x times the derivative of x minus p0, which is just 1. And of course, the derivative of that constant term is 0. So there's our derivative. Now, let's evaluate this at p0. That's the second line here. You notice we get that same nice effect with that first term. That p0 minus p0, that's 0. That whole term goes away. And it turns out that the derivative of p at p0 is just equal to q of p0, q being that polynomial we got from the division algorithm. And again, we're going to, yes, you'll see in the next couple slides, we can evaluate that also very efficiently just by finding its remainder when I divide that q polynomial by x minus p0. Okay, so how are we going to do this? How are we going to get this remainder? Well, to do that, we're going to fall back on something you hopefully learned back in an algebra class somewhere called synthetic division. So, before we start doing this in general terms and really get to the algorithm, I just want to do just a quick review of synthetic division, make sure we're all on the same page how this works. So I have, just for my example, 2x squared plus 4x minus 1, and I want to divide that by x minus 3. And so the way we do this is I'm going to start by writing out the coefficients. 2, 4, negative 1, and the 3 from the denominator goes on the outside. Okay, so the first step, we just bring down the leading coefficient. Right, then for the second step, we multiply the leading coefficient by that 3, right, that gives us 6, and then we add down, and that gives me 10. And now we do it again, right? 3 times 10 is 30. Minus 1 plus 30 is 29. Okay, so how does this relate back to the remainders that we're looking for, right? Well, what this is telling me is that the original polynomial is equal to x minus 3 times 2x plus 10, so the 2 and 10 from the first column, and the last column is the remainder, right? So it's a remainder of 29. Now, remember what I claimed on the last line, right? I claimed that that remainder term, referring to this example, is p of 3. Yeah, and you can confirm this pretty quickly, right? Substitute 3 in for x, and yeah, p of 3 does in fact come out to 29. Okay, so how about the derivative? Right, well remember, right, p prime of x, we can just do this straight differentiation. That comes out to 4x plus 3. And if we substitute 3 into there, we get p prime of 3 equals 16. And if you go back to that 2x plus 10, that's the q of x from the division algorithm. If you substitute 3 into 2x plus 10, yes, you get 16 back out. So everything I said was going to happen on the last slide, we're actually seeing happen here in this example. Okay, so let's get into our algorithm. Generic polynomial, p of x equals a sub n, x to the n, all the way down to a sub 0. And I've set us up for the synthetic division here, right? We're going to divide by x minus p0, so it's p0 on the left, and I've got the coefficients of the p polynomial in this top section. Now notice I've got 2 going on here at once, right? I'm set up for a second synthetic division down on the bottom. That's where I'm going to do the evaluation of the q polynomial, right? So you'll see this is very memory efficient because we're only going to have to, as I said, we're only going to have to loop through the polynomial's coefficients one time. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to assign p equal to a sub n. And that's the leading coefficient. This p is going to be ultimately our final answer. Right? When we get to the end of this process, p is going to be capital P of p sub 0. Now, this bottom section, this is where I'm evaluating q, right? That's where we're going to get the derivative from. And you notice that I've copied the leading coefficient down. I want you to kind of convince yourself that the leading coefficient of q is always going to be the same as the leading coefficient of p. And the reason for that is we're dividing by x minus p sub 0, right? It's because it's 1x, right? It's that 1 in front of the x that's making that happen. All right, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to assign q to be a sub n. And again, that q, when we get all the way to the end of the algorithm, that q is going to be q of p sub 0, which is our derivative. Okay, so remember how the algorithm works. I'm going to multiply p sub 0 by p and then add down. Now, this number is the next coefficient of the q of x polynomial. So I'm going to bring that down here and then do the process here. I'm going to multiply p0 by q and add down. Now, I want you to notice here, I'm reusing these two variables, right? I reused p in the top section, I reused q in the bottom section. That's because once we move past a column, I am never going to need that number again. Right, so not only is this algorithm computationally efficient, it's also efficient in terms of memory, right? Because I don't have to actually store every value, every coefficient of the q of x polynomial, right? All I need is the most recent one. Okay, so I'm actually going to kind of just disable these, right? Gray them out, just kind of as a reminder that I'm never going to touch them again. And now the process repeats. I'm going to multiply p0 times p, and I'm going to add down. And now we're not going to ever need that value again. And then the process continues, right? You go all the way through until you get to the end, and then you add down, and that value is the remainder. Right? So that value is p, capital P of p0. And we're doing a similar process down in the bottom section, right? I'm going the top section, bottom section, top section, bottom section until we get to the end here, and then that value is q. That is q of p0, which, as we saw, is p prime of p0. So we've got both the value of the polynomial and the value of its derivative here. Okay, so that's the general idea, right? So let's look at at some pseudocode for this. I think one of our more straightforward algorithms. The first two lines are the initial assignments when we process the very first column in the previous example. Then we get into the loop, and I want you, really the most interesting part here is just the loop bounds. J is going to go from n minus 1, that's the second column, to 1, which is not the last column. Remember, the last column is a sub 0. Yeah, so that's actually the second to the last column of the first section, and it's the last column of the second section where we're doing the Q evaluation. So that's why we have this extra line here, right? Remember there was one extra column for the P of X evaluation. That's what that P equals P sub 0 P plus A0 was doing. And then we output P and Q. And those are our values. Look at the first column, there are no arithmetic operations at all. That one was just, we assigned A sub n to P and A sub n to Q. The next column has 4 arithmetic operations. There's a multiplication and an addition in the first one, in the first section, and another multiplication and addition in the second one for a total of 4. The third column, next column over is the same, so on, all the way down to the end. And the last column is different, and because the last column only exists in the upper section, there are only 2 operations there, 1 addition and 1 multiplication. So how many does this come out to altogether? Well, there's a total of n plus 1 columns. The first and the last don't have 4s. So that means there's n minus 1 4s plus the 2 from the end, right? And if we simplify that, that's 4n minus 2, which means this whole thing, both evaluations, P and P prime, come out to just big O of n, right? It's linear time, which is really pretty awesome, right? That's a very desirable result. Well, I encourage you to go and get your programming language of choice out and try to implement this. You really understand these things a lot better after you've written the code and you work through any difficulties that you have. Then in the next lecture, we're going to try to generalize what we've done in the last two, right? And in this lecture and in the lecture on the secant method, we're really looking for ways to further optimize Newton's method, right? By digging into some specifics of that evaluation step. In the next lecture, we're going to see if we can generalize that and just find some general purpose methods that we can use to accelerate the already pretty respectable convergence level that Newton's method gives us.